Hello, book watchers. On this episode of Book Watch, we are watching Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, published in 2022, and its Netflix adaptation in 2026, also the same name. This is directed by Olivia Newman, who also did the screenplay along with John Whittingham. And the audiobook is narrated by Maren Ireland, who did Tova and Cameron's POVs, and Michael Urie, who did Marcellus's POV. I'm Sarah Day,
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Jordan.
and we will get started right after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. This novel follows Tova Sullivan, a 70-year-old widow who takes a night cleaning job at Sewell Bay Aquarium in Washington to cope with the mysterious decades-old disappearance of her teenage son. There, she forms an unlikely bond with Marcellus, a curmudgeonly and highly intelligent giant Pacific octopus. Using his sharp mind, Marcellus acts as a detective to uncover the truth behind her son's disappearance before his time runs out. This was an adorable book and adaptation, but what did you guys think of the story?
I thought it was awesome. I think that they did a great job with the adaptation had its um changes, but I think that overall they did a great job of capturing the essence of the book, and it was a sweet story that um kept you on the edge of your seat. You're like, come on, don't you guys see it? Come on, get there, get there. And eventually Marcellus helps him get there in the story. So
Yeah, because he tells us like
oh yeah,
halfway
right
through the
away.
book that they're related, and you're just like, okay, wait, so how do they find out?
Right. That's kind of the tension of the story, and watching people not be very remarkably bright creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love this story too. We're having some personal tragedy in my family. We had to unexpectedly say goodbye to one of our family pets. And so this whole book and movie being about grief and processing grief and like what do you do with yourself after you lose somebody that you love, and then spoiler alerts for the ending, like, she releases Marcellus and she's like, you get to go home now and you get to be free. And it was like, oh my God, we just had to do that with our dog. So it was very like timely. And I feel like it was, and I told these guys, in our group text, I was like, I feel like it's Providence that we are talking about this book right now, because I needed, like, that's the beauty of books and movies, is that they can tell us things about life that we may not know for ourselves already. And so like it was very healing for me to go through this journey with Tova and like learn, what happened to her son and how to get through that, and like be that friendship with Marcellus and the relationship that starts with Cameron even before they know they're related. And then at the end of it, yes, there was the loss, and there's always going to be the loss, and you always are going to have that little hole in your heart, but you can move on and you can still find joy and be happy and have family afterwards. Was very timely and very healing for me. And so we watched this movie last night, my husband and I, and by the end both of us are sitting there like and like crying and like wiping our tears, and we just, yeah, we're going through it over here in our household. But this movie was so sweet and just made you feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I really loved it. And yeah, I said it was like PC compared to the book. Like it had all the same pieces as the book. They just like pulled this from this spot and put it over here, and then this one and put it over there, and just kind of rearranged some stuff. But I think for like the visual media and for the flow of a film, it worked really well, and they had all the important things still in there, just in slightly different ways. So I was totally fine with all the changes.
I feel like instead of showing us, they had it as part of dialogue. They took a lot of stuff that we saw as scenes in the book and they just made it a quick little line in the movie. But of course, there's so many characters and there's so many things happening in this story that you have to take some stuff out for time's sake. I don't think I had a problem with anything, and we'll get more into the nitty-gritty of that in the next episode, but it definitely felt very rushed compared to the book. I think a couple characters were very watered down. And yeah, we might get to that when we talk about the cast today, but I think we'll get to that a lot more when we talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Agreed. At least it was this one and not like Marley and Me we were covering today. I think this one gave you that little bit of
Dude.
separation, whereas something like that would have been way too close to home right now.
I've never seen Marley and Me, and especially right now, I could not handle
No,
it. I'm
don't do it
not
right
gonna do
now.
that.
It's definitely a lot. But this one, yeah, definitely had that connection to it. Marcellus wasn't her pet, but yet he became her friend the same way that a
Mhm.
lot of our pets do become
Yeah.
close to us in the way that we would lose experience loss when they're gone. And
Yeah.
even one an animal that in the zoo that you take care of or in an aquarium you take care of that becomes so close like that would definitely be a big loss to lose. So it's
Absolutely.
even just him getting old in the end of the story. It was just like, oh no, he's not got much time left. He's got to
I know.
finish his mission here. He's got to help her.
Yeah. And the way that the narrator in the audiobook, and we'll talk about the voice actor in the film in a second, but the way that both of them, like, you can hear their voices change
Right.
throughout each, like, they start bright and peppy and snippy and like, oh, humans are dull and blah blah blah, and then at the end it's very slow. It's like, I guess they are kind of remarkably bright creatures, and it's like, oh no, please. But very well done
Yeah.
for both folks who did that.
All right, well, let's jump into the cast, which is what we cover in our first part of these episodes. And we will start, of course, with Tova Sullivan. And she is played by the wonderful Sally Field.
Such a great casting. She's kind of the perfect person for this kind of role. She's portrays emotion so well on screen. She is someone that everybody loves and can connect with. I thought it was a wonderful casting for her.
Yeah, I loved her. We, again, talking about like our own grieving, having her in this movie reminded me of Steel Magnolias and her role in that movie. And again, like she just plays the grieving mother, grieving widow woman so well. Hopefully she doesn't keep getting typecast into those roles. I'd love to have Sally Field have some joy in a film for once. That would be cool. But yeah, she was great. I feel like, I grew up with her with Steel Magnolia, with Mrs. Doubtfire. So those are movies like that my parents,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, exactly, like my parents had me watch those movies all the time growing up. So she feels like my grandma in a lot of ways. And so I loved having her in this. It made it feel again like even more like warm and cozy and like familiar almost.
Yeah, she's Forrest Gump's mom, too, right?
Yeah, she sure is. Yep.
I know her best from Mrs. Doubtfire. And so, I kind of forgot while watching that it is Sally Field because she's so much older than she is in Mrs. Doubtfire. So when I hear the name Sally Field, that's what I envision. Um, so it was really easy for her to blend into the role and just be Tova. And
Mhm.
I agree with both of you. I think she did a wonderful job of Tova just being the very sweet, grandmotherly type person, especially when she shared the screen with Cameron's character actor. And I thought they both did. I'm just really excited to talk about the rest of the cast because I thought everybody did a really good job bringing these characters to life.
Mhm.
And on that note, we have Cameron, who was played by Lewis Pullman.
So I mostly know him now from the Thunderbolts, the movie, as the Robert Reynolds character there. I don't know a lot of his other stuff, but everything I've seen him in so far, I think he plays that role pretty well. Whether he becomes his character pretty well, so I'm excited to start watching more of his stuff. He was Lessons in Chemistry too. I did
Mhm.
watch that, but I
Another
like him.
adaptation we should cover one day.
I'm ready. I've seen and read them both, so let's go.
Yeah, me too. That's a good one. He's also yes, Lessons in Chemistry. He's also in Top Gun Maverick. So I think he's definitely an up and coming actor. Of course, he has a well known father, but I am excited to see where his career takes him. I've liked him in everything that I've seen him in.
hmm I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if Sally Fields and Bill Pullman ever saw each other on screen, but I don't know how to find that out quickly. So that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I really like Lewis Pullman as Cameron. Like he played 30-year-old loser really well, and like I think the scenes where he's really talking about his grief and his hardship, not knowing his dad, and then his mom dying, like he really brought that across really well, and he seemed genuinely like upset and like he was struggling, and I can't relate to that story, thank goodness, but for people who can, like it probably, I hope that it was a really good expression of maybe what they have gone through in their lives, and brings them that, like, okay, somebody gets it, and to see that on screen is really really cool. But yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I love, like you said, the chemistry with him and Sally, and like their interactions together. I was like, oh yeah, these two are good. These are good together.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job of playing Cameron. I think he was a little bit more, not aggressive, but they wrote the character for the film just a little bit more exaggerated than I felt like he was in the book. Like everything in the book just felt a little bit more believable, the way he was reacting to things. Not saying that he overacted at all. I just think it was the
Hmm.
way it was written and directed. But that's really the only complaint I think I have on the cast.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I,
I think part of that comes with like all the changes they made, and so much
yeah,
of his like backstory and introduction got taken out of the film, and so you don't have as much time with him and from his point of view. Like the movie is very much Tova's story, and it's about
yes.
Tova and her relationship with Marcellus and her relationship with Cameron, but the book is very split,
Hmm.
Tova and Cameron, and each of them have points of views, and they go off and do things separately and things together.
Hmm.
And so I think that for me, like I agree with you that he seemed a little bit off compared to the book, and I think that's why, because we just didn't get as much time and as much background with him.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that it's a bad thing for the film because as I
Yeah.
was reading the book, I'm like, okay, I'm 25, 30, 40% into this book and the two main characters still haven't even crossed paths.
Yeah.
And like I knew what was supposed to happen. Like these two were supposed to be in the aquarium together. I'm like, when are we getting to the point? And then
Yeah.
it's like once that happens, it's just so heartwarming and everything is just bam, bam, bam from there on. And then that's, we find out almost immediately after that they are
Yeah.
related. So you're like, okay, so the rest of the book is just how
Yeah.
do they find out they're related? Um, but I like again, I think that's fine for the film to cut out all that backstory we had with
Yeah.
Cameron because you don't want to waste that time in a film
Yeah.
waiting for these characters to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, well, in the book, there's all these other different threads tying Marcellus to Tova before he's in the aquarium.
Right.
And,
Hmm.
we haven't talked about Avery yet, but Avery is tied to Eric before they even meet. So, like, there's lots of different strings that the book pulls in and gives you that thought of, like, do they connect? Is this
Hmm.
how this went? And it leaves it a mystery at the end, but, like, it's all there where you can draw conclusions, and the movie, they just were like snipping those threads left and right, like that never happened, this doesn't exist. Like even Cameron's mom, like the movie opens with him finding out, oh, your mom is dead, here's how you get the camper. In
Right.
the book, that's left very ambiguous, he just hasn't seen her in a long time, so he doesn't know if she's alive or dead or not. And so
Yeah,
like
nobody
that,
does.
so those kinds of like mysteries and like allusions to the past and all that kind of stuff just gets cut out, which again makes sense for a movie, but it has some effect on the characters for sure.
I spent the entire movie wondering if I kind of trying to decide whether I actually would have rather watched the movie first or read the book first. I'm like, I kind of don't want either of them spoiled by the other because I'm
Mm,
Right.
watching this movie. I'm like, oh, I kind of am sad I already know the ending,
Hmm.
and the book would have been the same way if I'd seen the movie first. So
And
it's one of
my
those that kept me wishing I'd watched it first or wishing I hadn't or whatever.
yeah.
My coworker did tell me to watch the movie first, and I did not listen. I read the book first, and I can definitely see why that's recommended to watch the film because of all the things they cut and twist and leave out. But um, I'm fine. I'm fine having read it, knowing what happened because I was very it was the book was very heartwarming, but it didn't I didn't bring a tear to my eye. And I think that is because like I just spent this whole time like waiting for it to happen, and then it happens. I'm like, okay, yay, finally. Like I did have a smile on my face. I was very excited. The movie though did bring tears to my eyes. The two of them sitting on the bench at the end, like when they finally reveal that she's his grandmother, I'm like, oh my god, the acting was so good. And especially Lewis Pullman's acting, like he just breaks down and you're just like, oh, it's okay, buddy, she's there for you now.
That part was kind of my wife was unsure what was happening at first in that. It wasn't until she actually said something that she figured it out, or they like moved into the narration. She was like, "Why does she care about this ring? I don't get it." So it took a moment for her to feel like it actually explained what was happening there. But still not bad. I understood it because I'd read the book, you can kind of piece it together, but it does get there and just tell you. But she was a little frustrated by that.
Well, I think if you're not paying attention to names, like if we had seen Eric's name laid out like that earlier in the
Right.
film, like the 4 names, I think it would have been more clear. But they couldn't give it to us too early because we knew he thought EELS was eels, you
Right.
know. But if you had like seen it on his wall in his bedroom, just like an eagle-eyed viewer would see it that hadn't read the book, they might have been able to piece it together.
Or in the yearbooks or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think they did okay with what they had, even though I had spoiled it for my husband because I had told him that she was his grandmother. Like Marcellus, like 50% in, Marcellus tells us that she's his grandmother, or that they're related, right? And so I had told him that. I'm like, it's halfway through the book. I still have a whole half to read. Like what's gonna happen? So he knew that going into the film. I lost the train of thought. Hold on, let me get it back. But I do like that the film doesn't give it away that early and that you have to wait until the end. Like because Marcellus in the book says these two are related in more words. And in the film, he says they both have the same hole in their heart or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, when he says a line, they both cock their head to the side. So you can see those mannerisms, but I still don't think they lay it out in the film like they do the book.
Yeah. And even his comments about them having the same hole in their heart, like that is straight from his chapters in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're right, he says like a human's gait, how they walk, is similar through family lines, and so that's how Marcellus tells that they are related, because they walk the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sees all the different mannerisms, and so he's able to analyze all these different things about them that can tell him for sure that they're related. And then he goes on several more missions besides just getting the ring to show them that they are related, to try and get them to make the connection, because they're not doing it on their own.
And yet Tova all throughout is seeing Eric's mannerisms in Cameron and just writing it off as, oh, that's just coincidence. Just coincidence. It's fine.
Yes.
It's just another kid that reminds me of my son.
Yeah.
And we were missing those in the movie.
Yeah.
But back to characters.
Well, yeah, and I do think that they, like I said, when he says the one line, they both tilt their head. So I do think the movie did try to give us those similar mannerisms in certain ways. And it would be fun to go back and watch it again, looking for those. Sorry, my dog is like, what's going on? I want to know. Do you have anything to say? So speaking of Marcellus and being the narrator, the all-knowing, remarkably bright creature that he is voiced by none other than Alfred Molina.
If I had a nickel for every time Alfred Molina played an octopus, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I stole that joke from my husband.
I'm sure it's out there in the interwebs too.
Yeah. I thought it was great. He was, I mean, there's only so much, like, I don't know. I don't want to discredit voice acting. Probably,
you used it last week too.
Sorry.
Episode too.
Stop.
It's gonna be Jordan's signature joke on the podcast.
I'm
I
not
know. I
very
was thinking the same
creative, you
thing
guys.
with Zoe
I
Deschanel singing in the
Yeah.
shower, and now Doc Ock.
I like that joke. I think it's funny.
Listen, we
Well-
share so many memes and gifs in our chats that it makes a lot of sense that we would also be using the memes in
Yeah.
our
for sure.
podcast.
But yes, you're right. He did a great job as Marcellus. I think that voice is just right. What you expect for an octopus. Now, every time I'm walking through an aquarium, I'm going to hear them talking about me in the background, in his voice.
And what did you guys think of the CGI as well?
I liked it. I think they did a great job with it. I didn't bump into it at all. I just thought, oh, okay, there's an octopus moving around.
Yeah, because I mean, I like how they had all the different cutscenes of like actual ocean life. So,
Yes.
like Chris and I growing up on the West Coast, like the aquarium that that I went to growing up, and that like at work we take the kids there every summer on a field trip. Like I've seen these animals like in aquariums, like in real life. And so I'm like, oh, I know what that animal is. I know what that fish, that jellyfish, like I've seen an octopus like that far away from me before. So I like how they intermix like the cut scenes of like Marcellus's memories of the ocean and like actual footage of the ocean in the Pacific with his CGI of him like and how he acts. And I thought I could still obviously tell that it was CGI, like beyond like the logic of if you can't train an octopus to do certain things.
They
But
are
I thought
remarkably bright creatures.
they sure are. They really are. But yeah, like it's CGI, but I was able to overlook it and be like it was real enough that it didn't bother me at all. And it
I
wasn't
agree.
like creepy uncanny valley CGI either. Like it was good.
The only time I think that it pulled me out of it was when they were touching each other, like when he wrapped his tentacles around her or Cameron. I think that's the only time I was really like, a little iffy. But again, that's really hard when you're interacting with real life.
Yeah. Well, and like the movement that a tentacle has too, there's literally no bones, so you can't like make it. It's just fluid almost.
That's true.
And
The whole
that's like
point of CGI is you're creating a bone structure to work to manipulate. So
there's no bones in an octopus. What are we supposed to do? They did a great job. CGI artists did a great job in this one.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, that brings us to Ethan Mack, played by Colm Meaney. Ethan, of course, is the shop owner that is interested in Tova.
I thought it was going to be, I can't remember his name right now. I thought it was going to be the dude from Game of Thrones, the red-haired guy from Game of Thrones who's obsessed with Brienne of Tarth. I thought it was him for a half second because we first see him like through the window or like from a little bit of a distance. I'm like, dude, it's him. And then it wasn't. And I was like, aw. But I still really loved this actor who played Ethan. Like I thought he's a Scotsman and he was fun. And I like how they blended the like, he's an old dude living in the Pacific Northwest with also like, he is a European punk rocker. And I thought so they did a good job of like he had like his little puka shell bracelets but then his Grateful Dead t-shirt. So I thought that was a really fun like character design, like the costumes, because I was like, what is this dude wearing all the time? And it explains sometimes what he's wearing, but I'm like, it wasn't like clicking. And then I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
As someone who goes to the Oregon coast a lot, which is a little closer and a little more the same sort of thing area as this, that's exactly what everybody wears over there anyway. So that's about right. So yeah, I thought he was great. I definitely think that the character had a few changes from the book, or as far as his story went, but I think he pulled off. I'm here because I needed some purpose, so I bought the store when it came up and I love the area, I love the people, and I think he played that well of someone who just was in love with interacting with humans and being a part of that people's lives. And he kind of helps eventually bring Tova back into her, into a social standing with people, and he's one of those people that pushes through her boundaries even though she locks everybody out for a while.
But not pushing through her boundaries in a bad way, just just helping her open back up. Yeah. We respect boundaries in this household, Chris.
Of course. Except for when we need to push. Because we love you, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
The final kind of key player besides the nitwits is Avery, whose role was kind of cut down a lot in the film, but she is played by Sophia Black Delia.
She's not who I saw in my mind,
Me
but
neither.
it was fine. I got past
Yeah.
it, and she did good with the role. She still, like you said, it was much more cut back, and so I was like, well, we kind of missed part of the story there a little bit, but I mean, she was there. She definitely did her little part.
Yeah, she definitely got the sassiness and the snark from the book correct. And so like the dialogue and the delivery of the dialogue, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. But yeah, the visuals, I was like, this is not adding up with what I had in my brain. I imagined her a lot more California-y,
Mm-hmm.
like blonde and tan and like much more like, Southern California surfer girl type looking. Um, and that's not what this actress looks like, which is totally fine. I just was like, oh my God, that's Avery. That's crazy. But yeah, it took me a sec, but she was fine. And especially since the role got cut down so much, it was easy to like ignore and overlook.
Right.
Exactly. Like she was fine for what they did for the film, but I don't think she would be a good book Avery if they had that amount of like backstory or like meaningfulness to her character that the book
Mhm.
had. But she was fine for what we got. I feel like maybe they cut some of it out of the film. Like maybe they had filmed more and they had just cut it. Because it just felt like it felt like she was there in the beginning and she had a big role and then she was gone for a little bit and then she popped back in for the epilogue.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I talked about all the different threads that the movie cut. Like one of the big ones was her thread and like her previous connection to the other players in this story, and by cutting that thread, it's like honestly like she could have not been in the movie at all and it would have been fine. I did like
Exactly.
I did like the visual of each of them being on their date, like pass, like on the paddle boards passing by when Tova's with Ethan. Like I liked that like juxtaposition of Cameron and Tova each like trying to come out of their shells and trying to be brave and go out and experience life and find joy through all their hardships and trauma. I did enjoy that part. So you can't really have that if there's no love interest for Cameron to be with. And I like her son Marco, like how that was triggering for Cameron, that another single mom with a teenage son who had her son when she was a teenager. Like I liked all of those aspects, but when you take away like that big thread, it's like what's the point a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it felt a lot more forced in the film than it did the book. Like she just had a reason to be there in the book, and like you said, taking away that piece of the pie just really watered down that whole storyline, and it just took away from everything else that was happening. Like we didn't need that love interest in the film.
Yeah.
All right. So the Nitwits are the last group of people that we're going to cover, and they are played by Joan Chen, Kathy Bateman, and Kathy Baker and Beth Grant.
They were fun. I we talked about this before with like Bridgerton, but like I love seeing older women be friends and like have relationships with each other and support each other. And I forget which one of them it was, with her daughter helping Tova, where she like calls her out like you've been so absorbed with like isolating yourself that you've now become a bad friend to other people. I was like, get her, girl, like let her know, because that's part of being a good friend, is being honest with each other and saying, you're not intending to do it, but you're hurting me right now with how you're acting. Like, kind of snap out of it, sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them like coming over to like help her get ready for her date and like hiding behind the couch like they're teenagers again. Like all of the scenes with them, I just was like, oh, they're so fun. And like they were definitely changed from the book too. Like, there's some scenes where Tova talks to some of them individually, and those get taken out because of how other changes that they made, and it's all fine and dandy. But I actually really liked the Nitwits. I thought they were fun, and I'm glad that they were included because they could have easily been cut.
Yeah, it was good to show that she still had connection with people her own age and had that group of people that's been around her all her life, basically living here and growing and changing with people. And yeah, that scene where she's called out as, hey, we're all still your friends. You don't need to try to not burden us. We want the burden. Let us help you. Was very good. And yeah, they were a good supporting cast that helped us push the narrative forward in different spots.
All right. Well, any other comments on the cast, CGI, or settings that we want to get into?
Twilight Beach. Twilight Beach was in there. I saw it and I pointed it out to my husband, and I was like, "Oh, that's the beach from Twilight." I know that because I know that that's the beach from Twilight because I am like that.
we had a conversation about it too.
I think the setting of the Pacific Northwest is good. Like there are, Chris can vouch, there are a lot of like small towns up there, and like if you want the octopus and the aquarium, like the Pacific Ocean is like, of course you need to be near some body of water, and the Pacific Ocean is the superior body of water. So
Hey, now.
No, I'm gonna stand by that. So it makes sense, and you can have the paddle boarding and the just all of the things, the weather that they talk about, like just feeding into this atmosphere of like it's dreary and cold and rainy for a lot of the year, and so like that definitely feeds into your sorrow and your depression and your sadness because you're just constantly surrounded by that weather. So then when the sun does come out and things get better, it's all the more, cinematic when it happens. So I like that it took place up there. And again, all the cast, I think, did a good job for how they are and for what they were given with the edits to the film. But yeah.
I just want to state that we can paddleboard on the East Coast, and we also have weather on the East Coast.
No, I don't buy it.
We do.
Not as good as West Coast weather, though.
You've been complaining about the rain.
We get all 4 seasons,
so we get it.
So.
We do not. We get right here. We get rain, or we get snow and forest fires. That's our 2 seasons over here.
I get heat and forest fires and earthquakes.
And you'll have a whole new set of those when you get over to Texas soon.
Yeah, my last recording in California, you guys.
And she won't even be in the Pacific North or near the Pacific Ocean anymore. She'll be near the Gulf or something.
I'm gonna be sad. No more ocean. Not that I go to the ocean that much, anyways. I'm an indoor reader person, but yeah, sad.
Alrighty then, listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode. We'll be coming back next week with part 2 of Remarkably Bright Creatures, where we dive into the plot.
Woo!
That's a wrap for today's episode of Book Watch. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of page-to-screen adaptations. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with your fellow book and movie lovers. If you'd prefer to watch along, you can check the show out on YouTube. You can follow the show on Instagram at Bookwatch Podcast, and you can follow me, Sarah Day, on Instagram at captain.mcdee. That's MCDEE. You can also join the conversation in the Book Watch Lounge on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/bookwatchlounge. If you would like to support the podcast, you can join the Patreon at www.patreon.com/bookwatchpodcast. Tiers start at only $4 a month, and I'd love to have you over there. If you have a favorite adaptation you'd like to cover with me, I'd love for you to apply to be on the show with the contact form on our website at www.bookwatchpodcast.com. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and I'll see you next week.